Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna try to rank all the Master League Pokemon that need legacy moves for the Open Master League, of course. So we want to try to make a priority list here. It does not mean that, oh, this Pokemon is really that much better or whatever with this move. It's kind of what you kind of want to get first. So, like Pokemon, for example, that are going to be low on the list might need the move, but the Pokemon itself is kind of bad. For example, something like, I don't know, the Zapdos here, for example, would be in the C tier, for example, because this Pokemon is, in general, interesting Pokemon to actually play for the Master League. A lot of people don't really know this, but it actually has some decent matchups in general. But, yeah, you need the fast move to play this Pokemon, but this Pokemon itself is not really that crazy, so that's kind of how it goes. And we can move on immediately here. We're going to have, for example, here, the Conkeldurr with Brutal Swing. It's an interesting Pokemon to play, still a very decent fighting-type Pokemon, but doesn't really see too much play recently. Or Dragonite, one of the Pokemon that is one of the top tier Pokemon to have for the Master League, but just the legacy move of Dracometeor is not going to work out too well for this Pokemon. So, like, you can still play it, which is kind of the C tier, like, if you really want to, but, like, it is not really something that you, yeah, really want in general. Like, you would catch people off guard if you have Dracometeor on this Pokemon, but it's kind of rare to be seen and not really ideal. Garchomp, for example, would learn Earth Power, which is okay again, but Garchomp does not really have any play recently either. Don't know if this is like an oversight from people, but I don't think this Pokemon has a lot of play currently, especially also with a better ground and dragon type being around with the Zygarde. We're going to have the Genesect having like 4 completely different forms plus like the normal form. We're going to put it into the B tier. If you have a Genesect with those types, yeah, you can play it. It's a cool Pokemon, especially in the chill form. But, yeah, maybe it kind of deserves even A tier for chill form. But, like, usually they have the move already because they usually get released with the move, so don't really know. The next one going to be the first D tier Pokemon, which is going to be Giratina. Both of the Giratinas are actually really good for the Open Master League, but the issue with those one is you have a move that's pretty horrific and you don't really want it at all. You could argue that you maybe can use it on this Giratina, so I might put it into low C tier, but you don't want to use the signature move of this Pokemon at all with Shadow Force on the Giratina Origin. It's literally horrific, like you don't want to have this one. First S tier pick here is going to be Groudon. You need Presence Blade, you need Fire Punch, both of them are going to be legacy moves, so you need like 2 elite items to build yourself a Groudon, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Definitely still a very solid Pokemon, definitely something that you should prioritize. Moving on, Gyarados actually has a lot of play in the current meta. No one put it into the A tier. You don't see it too often either, but I might even take a look at this Pokemon again. You completely wall Kyogre, you can completely wall most of the Dragon-type Pokemon other than like the Dialga, I guess. You can also completely destroy, yeah, Groudon, for example, which is an A in the S tier as well. So definitely Pokemon that has a lot of potential based on the typing itself. Next one is something that I actually would nearly put into the S tier as well, which is going to be Heatran. Now where Fire Spin got buffed, Heatran is actually really solid as a Pokemon, as an anti-meta Pokemon to use, so this will most likely move up into like the low S tier, but I feel like Heatran is actually worth it to get. Something that you definitely should get is Sacred Fire on the Ho-Oh legacy move again. Definitely something that you want to have. This Pokemon is so good in the current meta. One of the best, if not the best Pokemon in the current meta to play, basically. You see it all the time. Sacred Fire gives you the chance to debuff the opponent's attack, which is really cool as well. We have, I think it's Brutal Swing again onto the Hydreigon. Hydreigon itself is just not really a great Pokemon. It has some play against like Giratina, for example, which makes this Pokemon a little bit unique, but otherwise it's not really great. So would not really recommend you to build this Pokemon at all, but it's still more viable with Brutal Swing, but I feel like it is not really as ideal there. Do you have Keldeo next? I guess I would put Keldeo into the B tier. Sacred Sword is the legacy move on this Pokemon. It is okay to have, whatever, but like, it still needs a better fast move. Like, if this Pokemon gets Double Kick, it would be top meta for the Master League, but it does not have Double Kick currently, so it is not going to be as ideal. As we can move on to the next one, which is going to be the Kyogre. And you might think Kyogre S tier for sure. I would put it into the B tier actually, because I feel like you don't really need the legacy move. Like, it has Origin Pulse as a legacy move, which is a very strong water type attack, but you do already very strong water type damage with the Waterfall with the Surf. And then you could either go for Thunder or Blizzard as a coverage move, which a lot of times people actually prefer. So like, you can play it, but I would not actually recommend you to use an Elite TM on this Pokemon, because like, if you don't have like a ton of them, because I feel like Origin Pulse is a cool move to have, but Thunder especially is like has a lot of play in the current meta as well, so maybe rather go for that. We're going to have the next Pokemon going to be Kyurem. Kyurem is actually really solid. I have to put like basically kind of similar to the Heatran into the lower S tier. This Pokemon actually has a lot of potential in the current meta. Glaciate is a great move to have, and so would actually recommend you to try to build this Pokemon if you can. But yeah, next one, going to be one that you definitely want to get as well, Sansea Storm on the Landorus Legacy move. Fresh Legacy move as well, really, really good, make this Pokemon so much better to play as well, give it a little bit more bulk option basically thanks to this one, but for sure something that you want to have for the Master League. We're going to have next, actually I kind of have to put you into D tier, like D tier for the Latias, like it learns, I think it learns Mist Ball, which is definitely better for this Pokemon, but again, like this Pokemon is so bad that I would not even want to rank it above like C tier. Like there are so many different kind of Dragon type Pokemon like the Dragonite, which are just way, way better than this Pokemon, which is kind of sad. So yeah, sadly, because Mist Ball is a pretty high energy and demanding move, you don't really want to have this Pokemon in general for the Master League, so get it, not like, please don't get it. Moving on to the next one, we're going to have here the Latios. Latios is going to be, of course, an interesting Pokemon as well to have. For me, it's kind of C tier as well. It's not really an ideal Dragon type Pokemon, but it actually can do something, especially with Lost Approach. I guess I would actually put it kind of into B tier. They're just better Dragon type Pokemon in general, but actually is a cool Pokemon to play. So if you have one, especially like a Shadow one or whatever with good IVs, why not? Like definitely something that you can try out. Lugia, I'm not the biggest fan anymore of this Pokemon, but I still think like kinda something that you should prioritize because they really kinda want to have the Aeroblast on this Pokemon. So yeah, it's still a Pokemon that you can play, it's still a Pokemon that's kinda solid. It's a little bit worse now where you need one more fast move to get to the Sky Attack, which is really annoying for this thing, but like it is not as good as it was back in the day, but it's still a very good Pokemon, so has to be S tier for me. We have Machamp with, I think, Stone Edge as well as the move Payback. Payback is more like what you kind of want because you already have Rock Slide. But yeah, like you don't really want this Pokemon in general. I would put it into the C tier as well. Not really ideal, to be fair. We're going to have the Mamoswine. Yeah, Mamoswine has a legacy move called Ancient Power from a C-Day, and it's literally horrific, so put into the D tier. Mamoswine itself are really, really cool, but it learns also Stone Edge, I think, plus high horsepower already, which is way better for this Pokemon, so like why would you go for Ancient Power? I'm not too sure. Next one, S tier, for sure, is going to be Metagross, one of the best anti-meta Pokemon that is non-legendary currently, like so far at least, for this tier list at least, the only non-legendary Pokemon in the S tier with a legacy move that you really want to get, but definitely a solid pick for sure. Mewtwo, you need Side Strike, and then you can choose to go for the Shadow Ball as well. You don't have to go for Shadow Ball, there's still Ice Beam as well as Focus Blast as free options available for the second slot, which are both really, really great. But Shadow Ball is usually preferred, especially for meta where Solgaleo is pretty decent as well. We have the Rayquaza. I'm gonna put it into the A tier. I think the legacy move is mainly, I don't know if Breaking Swipe is legacy. I know that the Dragon Ascent is legacy, and that's kind of what it's based off. You don't really need a Dragon Ascent immediately. Like, there's also Ancient Power, which is actually okay for this Pokemon because they hit Ho-Oh for more damage, but yeah, like this Pokemon itself is a little bit worse now, so like I would not really prioritize it as much anymore since Breaking Swipe got nerfed, but I feel like it's still a very solid Pokemon to play. So let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Reshiram. Again, kinda could be A tier as well for me, because this Pokemon needs, like this Pokemon kinda needs its legacy move, which is Fusion Flare, which is, for example, for Zekrom not the case, why we're gonna put Zekrom into the B tier for like what do you want to prioritize. Zekrom has Wild Charge, which is the same energy and I think a little bit more damage than Fusion Flare, but has the debuff on your own defense by 2 stages. But the what's called Reshiram here is going to definitely need the Fusion Flare, definitely the best move that it can have on this Pokemon. That's why it's a little bit higher. In usage, Zekrom is a little bit more higher than Reshiram there as well, but yeah, if you want to build them, definitely cannot prioritize getting this move on the Reshiram if you have limited amount of elite TMs, because Zekrom can definitely deal also with the Wild Charge. Moving on, we're going to have here the Rhyperior. Rhyperior, for me, also high up A tier. This Pokemon is really, really solid. I would not really put into S tier yet, especially as you also learn Stone Edge, and like, yeah, Rockrucker is definitely the better move to go for over Stone Edge, but like you can still manage with a Stone Edge, or you can go for Breaking Swipe Surf, Breaking Swipe Super Power, so like it's not really as dependent, but this Pokemon itself is really solid, and I play at least a lot of times with the moveset with Rockrucker because you hit those flying types a little bit easier with it. So definitely something solid for you as well. Next one, Swampert, not really as great in the current meta anymore, so I'm gonna put it really, really low. Was actually kind of solid like back in the day for a little bit, but like nowadays like it's far gone. Basically, back in the day, there were not as many legendary that were like available in Pokemon Go for the Master League, like the first like 4 or 5 seasons basically. And actually, Swampert was fairly decent there, but like nowadays, it's sadly nowhere close to what it used to be. We're going to have Terrakion next. I kind of want to put Terrakion into A tier as well. This Pokemon I feel like has a lot of potential in the current meta because there is just Ho-Oh everywhere. And this Pokemon has like Double Kick, Rock Slide, and Sacred Sword. Yeah, Sacred Sword, which is going to be the legacy move there. Going to be definitely what you kind of want to get for this Pokemon. So yeah, definitely is something that you should try to get. We're going to have Aura Sphere on the Torrkiss. And I actually have to put this Pokemon into C tier as well. Not because this Pokemon is so bad or because Aura Sphere is bad. Aura Sphere and Flamethrower basically have the same matchups. Like, Aura Sphere is a little bit better, for example, for a Pokemon like Heatran or something like this. But, yeah, like, Aura Sphere in general is also the better move, but it basically makes no difference in the in these sets currently. Unless, like, Torrkiss gets something like a Fairy Wind fast move, then, like, the Aura Sphere would be way more important. Right now, like, you barely get to one charge move anyway with this Pokemon, like, it is not really as important to have like crazy fast charge moves here for this thing because Charm is like your main damaging source. So yeah, for me, C tier, high C tier, of course, you can have this move. This move is better than Flamethrower in general, but again, like it is not really that clear all the time. Let's take a look at the next one, which is going to be the Tyranitar. And I actually would put it into the B tier. I really enjoy Smackdown Tyranitar, but please only do the Shadow variant of this, because I feel like this is the only really viable one for it, because you kind of really want to get the damage of it. Like, you really want to get Smackdown damage on this Pokemon. Helps you to just farm down the Ho-Oh, helps you to farm down something like Lugia as well, which can hit pretty hard. You are hard wall to the most common Mewtwo set, which is really cool. You can beat something like the Kyurem as well. So like, this Pokemon actually has a lot of play in the Master League, which a lot of people don't really see. Kind of want to try it out again. I have my Shadow one built already, so maybe I'm gonna make a video about this Pokemon again, but yeah, it is what it is. Next one, we're going to have Ursaluna. It is just not really viable. Like, if it gets a better fast move, like, yes, you kind of want to bump it up for the secondary charge move of High Horsepower. High Horsepower is a Community Day move for this Pokemon. Definitely worth getting for this one there, if this Pokemon gets a better fast move. But Tackle is just not really cutting it. It is still a Pokemon that you can use if you really want to, but I would not really want to use this Pokemon. So, next one is going to be actually one that I kind of want to put into the B tier as well. The cool thing about Virizion is that you're going to be able to beat the Dialga plus Kyogre Core, which is pretty common. So this Pokemon actually has something to beat, but yeah, it is of course more of a spicy pick. I don't really have to say anything about it. We're going to have the Xerneas, one of the only elite fast TMs here on the list as well. Definitely worth it to get for me, for sure, an S tier Pokemon. Really, really solid still. Geomancy is so good for this thing, so definitely get this one. And then we're going to have as the final one the Oblivion Ring on Yveltal, which I'm still gonna put into A tier. Like, you can kind of get this Pokemon with this move, like, it's definitely better usually for it, but you could also run Dark Pulse and Focus Blast, which is going to be nearly the same anyway. So like, for me, it's kind of into the A tier list as well, a little bit lower actually here as well. But yeah, this is going to be my tier list for the Pokemon that you should prioritize to get an Elite TM for this one to make it viable for the Master League. Again, it is not a tier list based on usage stat or whatever, it's more like my own personal tier list of Pokemon that have a legacy moves that you should get to be like a little bit more meta for the Master League. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.